Hey guys, no, this video is not clickbait. The title of this video is not clickbait. Many of you found this channel because of a multi-part article that then recorded the voice track and put it up on YouTube for people who want to listen to it. A lengthy article about how Anita Sarkeesian almost made me quit writing about video games. And now I finally sat down to read the Polygon article that ironically came out on Juneteenth. And, sorry, you kind of lose your woke cred if you drop an article about a major, not African-American feminist on Juneteenth. For those of you who don't know what Juneteenth is something celebrated on June 19th, which is the day the massive Feminist Frequency article dropped on Polygon. It is commemorating June 19th, 1865, which was the announcement of abolition of slavery in Texas. It's generally a celebration of the end of slavery in America. So Polygon and all their wokeness dropped a major article about a feminist organization where I believe no one there is black, but certainly the creator and the guy who, more on that in a bit, neither of them are black. Not really woke points. But anyway, this article dropped and there was a line I was like, Mon Dieu, okay? And I'm gonna show it to you. Now, here we are. So we got this big fancy splash, right? Like, wow, she got her own graphic. Like, that's like Beyonce's feminist banner. Like, that is impressive, okay? And it is an article so long, it has 10 hyperlinks in it, okay? But in the article, there's this part. When I started, I was one of the only ones talking about media representation. We would release a video and every single media outlet would cover it. Everybody was watching. It was like a huge event. Now there are so many voices that are talking about the same subject. And, there's a preceding paragraph for that. We could have kept going for another couple of years. I decided not to. I made the choice. Feminist Frequency did something amazing. We put out a ton of great resources, made a lot of great stuff that is lasting and relevant, and that's being used in education. Past tense. So we can say with relative assurance, Feminist Frequency is done. And it's done because now there are so many voices that are talking about the same subject. I don't know how many voices. Brianna Wu. There's my friend Jean, who, if you watch my Twitch channel, she did that game, Danielle's Inferno. She talks about this stuff. There's me. There's not that many other people whose main gig. And Brianna, it isn't even main gig. She's a game developer. Or she was. I don't know if she still is. She ran for government or something like that. But there aren't very many of us. Jean's a game developer too. There aren't many people whose main gig is doing this stuff. So, did I do that? Whoops. But I wanna make it clear, this does not make me happy. Like, I'm going through it, and there were a lot of things that people suspected for quite a while that turned out to be true. There is a significant part where they talk about the creative interference that Jonathan McIntosh committed on it, where he constantly fought with the woman running the show. Video game's greatest male feminist, okay, guys, couldn't defer to the woman in charge on the project. Don't take my word for it, okay? Check it out. Okay, it's right here. McIntosh would set up the camera and lighting, then leave Sarkeesian alone to deliver the script. In Area 5's films, she rarely gets through more than a sentence before wanting to do a do-over, sometimes multiple times. This meant a lot of editing. That's a rookie mistake, by the way. More on that in a bit. As the pressure mounted, creative disagreements between McIntosh and Sarkeesian began to appear. The arguments were sometimes brutal. It got very heated, and towards the end, it was emotionally difficult for Anita to maintain the partnership. The central problem was that McIntosh favored lengthy videos that addressed every possible objection from critics. Sarkeesian believed in brevity and making her point as succinctly as possible. Jonathan was bringing a lot of data to the table, and then Anita was synthesizing the data and putting a human angle on it. She wanted to nudge viewers towards considering the larger impact of the information that was being presented to them. Ultimately, they were her videos, and she had the last word, and he didn't necessarily take it well. And then McIntosh says he was feeling a lot of pressure from the abuse he was sifting through. It pushed him towards placing too much emphasis on the likely reactions of critics. I wanted to anticipate and fight every possible counter-argument. In retrospect, that wasn't necessarily the best way to do it. You can't beat bad faith arguments, even with the most detailed research. Looking back, I think her impulse to make things shorter, to hit the most important points, and move forward was probably right. Yeah, Anita was right. Have I ever said that before? I think I said it once before. Anita was right. She was right. Keep it punchy. Keep it easy to understand. The big problem with especially the later tropes versus women videos, they took too long. They beat that horse until it was dead, come into the underworld, like Kratos climbing out of the underworld to come back, and they beat that horse dead again. Like, it was way overthought. Her instincts were right. And the funny thing is that they got longer after apparently he was left. After the first season, he was out. So we can confirm that he was having a ton of influence on the finished product. That was something people speculated about for a long time, that he was secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes. It sounds like he was certainly trying to do that. Buddy, you can't call yourself a feminist and then not be able to handle the woman who is your boss. She might be like your significant other as well, but on this project, she is your boss. You have to defer to her like any other boss. You can't fight with your boss tooth and nail because they don't think your research it's too much. You have to take that criticism. Buddy, if you can't handle a woman in charge, you ain't a feminist. Sorry, man. You ain't. And I feel for Anita on that one. That sucks. Reading this article, I think she made a lot of rookie mistakes, which, yeah, she'd never produced something like this before. She's going to make mistakes. But the budgets, I crunched the numbers. The budgets are like $1.6 million over 5 years. Okay, that breaks down to $320,000 a year. And the article says 2 employees and 1 producer. So that's 2 part-time, 2 full-time, 1 part-time. I'm assuming that's not including Anita. So 4 employees. I just divided that by 4. Okay? That works out to $80,000 a year per person. Let's say there's overhead, lop off 10 grand a person, 70 grand a year per person. That is an excellent income for nonprofit activism. That is a very good income on a nonprofit scale. Nonprofit people get paid like dirt, okay? That is excellent. Now, I looked at the financial breakdowns for Feminist Frequency. They weren't true financial breakdowns. They were broad strokes, kind of like that 1-page summary of Trump's tax returns instead of the whole return. But shout out to Brad Glasgow about that, by the way. Well done, Brad. Good number crunching. There was a lot of overhead. The overhead on a nonprofit, reasonable, you want to keep it around 5%. Reasonably, you can push it up to 10%. Any more than that, something's not right there. your costs should not be more than 10%. The rest of it should go towards paying your people. Because really, what are you paying for? You own the camera. The video production values aren't huge. Where is the money going? Office space? That's a foolish investment for a company of 4 people. 5, if maybe Macintosh isn't an official employee. But, my understanding was it was Carolyn Petit, what's her name, Adams. Macintosh was gone eventually. And then there's a producer, whoever that was. So you don't need an office for that. That's a small business. You can do that out of your home, no problem. God knows I do. But 80 grand, like 70 grand a year, I'll take that. But I know how to do things lean because I came up in like Canadian radio and low budget television, like when we hit $1 million a year, I was like, what? Cause that's when we were working with Americans. That was a big change. Like what we have money now, it actually took some time to get used to having money. But, I am surprised. I shouldn't be surprised because I'm me and I'm weird, but I am surprised at how sad I am that they're throwing in the towel. I didn't want them to quit. I want her to get good. It's the gamer instinct, like get good. She was new. She was extremely green. She had never done video production before. We all suck at first. We all do. We all get ripped at first. That is just the trial by fire that comes with not just YouTube, but any entertainment medium. I mean, I just watched the new Donnie Deutsch show on MSNBC, Saturday Night Live Politics, or whatever the heck it's called, Saturday Night Politics. His delivery is rough. His delivery as a host is rough. But I see what he brings. He's willing to play the heel to develop a conversation. And that's really cool. I really thought that when he got into the panel discussions, he was really good. When he was doing the intros and outros, he was rough. But I made sure, I put up a nice comment because I know everybody sucks at first. Yeah, they do rehearsals, but it's not enough. You have to grow into the job. And it takes you a while to find your feet on any show, but there is real potential there. Some of the best debates on the gaffes in the Democratic Party, the AOC comments about the I won't call it the word, but versus the Joe Biden gaffes on, the use of the word boy. The way they compare and contrasted that, I'd been watching that for a week develop. They made valid points a week later, good for them. So I made a point to point out, I thought the show was good, even though it was rough in places. Because everybody starts rough. You have to start, you suck, and you get better. That's true of anything. That's true of any job in entertainment. It takes you a little while to click with that particular role. So the fact that it was rough out of the gate, that's not her fault. The problem is that she clearly did not have people around her that were, advising her appropriately. Because one of the things I would never have recommended as someone who's done this for, 21 years now. That's a long time to be in media. Man, it ain't the age, it's the mileage, man. What? But I would have first advised her, do not rely heavily on corporate donations. Do not. That way lies madness, okay? That's a rookie move because when you get corporate sponsorship, it seems like a huge amount of money. And, she learned the hard way. That way lies madness. Check it out, okay? Feminist frequency relied heavily on corporations willing to fund the sort of work that looks into intersectional feminist critiques of commercial art. When corporations make financial commitments to nonprofits, they like to make song and dance about the noblesse oblige. most especially when it portrays them in a positive light. But they're also prone to nickel and diming once favorable media coverage fades. Yes, that is 100% true. If you're lucky, they only start nickel diming you when the positive coverage fades. Corporations only donate to a nonprofit for the glowing media coverage that comes with it. They are buying good feels. That is the reality. This is why when I did my work with epilepsy stuff, I was extremely skeptical of corporate participation, because the corporations were drug companies that were more focused on advertising their drugs than actually improving the quality of life for people with epilepsy. And I clashed very strongly with some people, other nonprofit people who were like addicted to corporate money. And the thing about taking corporate money is you need to keep the corporations happy, because they're corporations. They only exist for good PR, money, or, I don't know if there's anything else. Good PR or money. That's pretty much all that's pretty much all corporations care about. And so, yeah, I always joke, people on my Twitch channel have heard me say, when you get corporate sponsorship for your product, you get 5 times the money, but 10 times the headaches. It is always taking more out of you to work with a corporation unless you can really deftly set expectations from the beginning. And that's something that comes with years of experience, not, somebody who happened to have an extremely successful Kickstarter. Nonprofits are most resilient when they don't rely on corporate money, when they rely on the goodwill of plenty of small donors, because then you can lose a few and then gain a few. It's not the same as you lose, one major corporate sponsor and there goes $100,000 to $300,000, because yes, it's always fleeting. They're in it for the good vibes. They're in it for the good PR. And if you can't deliver that, and an activist is not going to deliver that, then they're going to walk, because they're not getting what they signed up for. Activism should not be corporately funded. You cannot be an activist and taking corporate dollars. And the fact that her economies of scale, the amount of money she thought was reasonable to expect in a YouTube series was way above what the market rates are. Here we go. There are a lot of reasons why the landscape is really challenging, but I don't want someone reading this and thinking that if they wanted to drop $50,000 in our lap to make a video series, I wouldn't do it. Like, I absolutely would. $50,000 is a ridiculous amount of money for a YouTube series. The going rate for YouTube is like $300 if like you get really lucky, or if you're a really big name, $500 a video. That's what you have to do it for. So for $50,000, you would have to produce like 100 videos to make it worth $50,000 to someone. You just do not get paid that much up front for a video series on YouTube. It is not realistic that you will make that money back. You guys have seen what my floor for Boss Fight and Lady Bits were. It was $16,000 for 6 episodes, $15,000 for 5 episodes. Like, that's what's realistic. And if you fund season by season, fine, but that's all you can really expect. And, even that's high because, hey, I'm crowdfunding. I've earned it. I've cultivated an audience who's willing to pay that. So awesome. Like, I'm making really, really good production margins for a YouTube video. That's way above what you get paid by a corporation, right? Like, I'm grateful. I'm grateful you guys support my work that way. But even then, $50,000 for a YouTube video series is insane. That's just not realistic based on the current the realities of social media. And of course, she predicted the death of social media. Social media is not dying. There are a lot of really great opportunities currently being developed in social media, but also things like Twitch that already exist. Their monetization model is much better than YouTube. And with Patreon, there's no reason you can't. Okay, you're not going to pull 70 grand a year, but you can get by as long as you're not living in an incredibly expensive city. So like I said, a lot of rookie mistakes. And then the obvious interference of Jonathan McIntosh clearly made them stumble out of the gate, and it exhausted her. And as somebody who's had those creative fights, I really empathize with how hard that is when someone does not respect that this is your project. It was her name. She's the one that took the shit. She's the one that made it happen. Her narrative was compelling enough for people to throw ridiculous amounts of money at it. She's earned the right to make those decisions. And him not being able to handle it is horrendously unprofessional. She's in charge. She has the final say. You make your case. Some you win, some you lose. That's the game. And I say this as somebody who, works with my husband on things. Chain of command is very important. If it's his project, he gets final say. If it's my project, I get final say. And you can't hold a grudge about that. You can't. It's essential you don't. I feel very badly that she went through that. I know I didn't cause it, but the rumors were true. On the one hand, Feminist Frequency never really understood gaming circles. They did not understand gamers. They did not understand that everything about gaming must be interactive. You cannot sit there and, create polemics and have gamers accept them. Gamers are gamers because we prefer interactive mediums. Therefore, anything you do must have some sort of interactive component. People have to feel like they have their say. You'll notice there's a ton of interactivity in Boss Fight. There's a ton of interactivity in Lady Bits. There's even more in Boss Fight. So many more people are going to be involved in Boss Fight because the way I structured it, because that works, right? Listening to people, having that back and forth. I mean, the comments on yesterday's video, where I was critical of a video game company, but, I was doing it from a perspective of, hey, guys, that was a lateral move. Don't piss in my ear and tell me it's raining. And gamers yeah, you're right. Because, first of all, you're my cred. Second of all, I was speaking their language. I wasn't treating it like a TV show where you push buttons or a movie where you push buttons. I was going, hey, and the responses, the comments, the way people added to the discussion. I actually screen capped a few and put them on Twitter, the early ones, because I was just I cut off people's names because I didn't want to embarrass anybody. But they were so good. They were so well thought out. And that dialogue is so essential. You can't have that if you disable comments. You have to be very careful to disable comments. You can't disable comments as a rule and expect to get a good hearing in gaming. People feel like they should be able to respond. But please, go back and, read the comments from yesterday. I know this isn't Feedback Friday. This isn't the place. But, guys, they were so good. It really shows that if you give respect, you get respect. If you seem to understand people, people will open up to you. You can criticize something without seeming like you're saying it's entirely bad. And the really unfortunate thing about the Polygon article is there was a level of positivity coming out of Anita Sarkeesian that I have not seen in her work. I have not seen in her output. She talked about games she actually likes. Now, I disagree with her completely about Dishonored 2. I think there's a lot of problems with Dishonored 2 from an intersectional approach. And just, a gameplay design approach. That game was a hot mess. But she thinks there are no problems. She's entitled to that. But, is there still dialogue to have or work to do, as they call it? Yeah, absolutely. These sorts of things, we're still figuring out how to tell meaningful stories in video games itself. Never mind, meaningful stories with a particular political slant, right? I don't, my personal philosophy is games, because of the interactive component, you can have individual characters in a game that have their own politics and believe very strongly in things. I don't believe the game itself, and unless it's like, kind of a definitely like an indie art house piece like Papers, Please, that's designed to make you feel uncomfortable. I think that you should always leave up to the player in a big AAA title how they feel about something. Don't tell them how they're supposed to feel about something they're interacting with. That spoils the interactivity. It's like yelling at them instead of having a conversation with them. That's how it feels to play something. That I remember playing BioShock Infinite, and Booker kept opining about things in my ear, and I'm like, shut up, Booker, you're a first-person character. You're supposed to do what I think. You're first person, man. If you want somebody to have that strong opinions, make them third person. Don't be a first person and like, shut up, Booker brain. Did I ask you? That was a real issue for me. Now, some people disagree with me on that, but, the BioShock franchise was the thing that made Clint Hawking coin the term ludonarrative dissidence. So I'm not alone in feeling like they kind of missed the mark that way. But that is a gaming perspective. That is not, this game you grew up with all along is bad because sexy ladies. That just fails to understand the innate relationship between a video game player and the characters. And other people had different approaches to different characters. They shared that. I thought it was really interesting to see the different ways people interacted with characters. But the point was that I was like, I've listened to you and I hear you, and I was able to effectively summarize the views and validate them. And it's amazing when you do that, how people share, and they share, and they share, and they share, and they share. And one thing I learned about nonprofit stuff for any high stigma thing, people can't feel scolded. It needs to be fun. And when I first did Lady Bits, when I was planning Lady Bits, the original working title for that was A Feminist Guide to Gaming. Because A Gamer's Guide to Feminism was the first thing I did. One of the first bits of feedback I got from an advertising agency was, women, good, feminism, no. From a corporate perspective, no one wants to touch feminism. Everybody is about girl power. Yay, women. Not feminism. It's a dirty word in feminist circles. So to call yourself feminist frequency and go after corporate dollars, you have not done your market research. That's why I came up with the term Lady Bits, because it didn't say feminist at all. And you know what? It worked. People came to the series with an open mind. And I got to redo my Patreon page because I got to make it more like Boss Fight about Myths About Gaming and less about, Mosaic Feminist approach, because I branched beyond that. And that's really cool. I mean, obviously, like based on yesterday's video, I'm still going to go there. I'm still going to go there when I feel it's warranted. But that's not all I'm going to do. And that's great. Because that's normalizing female voices. Like the one thing I wanted was to just be able to talk about games, not talk about being a woman who plays games. I'm so sick of talking about being a woman. Okay. I'm a gamer. The woman thing should not be, gamers are male, gamers are female, gamers are trans, gamers are genderqueer, gamers are everything else. Gamers are Black, gamers are white, gamers are Asian, gamers are Latin, gamers are mixed race, gamers are everything. The gamer identity is not a straight white male. No, a gamer is anyone who enjoys video games. And as long as we continue to treat straight, white, cisgendered men as the default gamer and everyone else as an other or a guest, we are going to continue to mess this up. And that's a big thing about feminist frequency, is it kept saying they wanted female inclusion, but they kept pounding that myth. So, You know, if I had something to do with Feminist Frequency's demise, I'm sorry, I didn't want that. I feel kind of weird about that. And that's why, like, I did a whole thing about how they almost made me quit writing about gaming. Did I make them quit making videos about gaming, even in part? That's heavy. All right, support Boss Fight like a good bra. We are still going strong. There are 19 days to go. That's plenty of time. Let's hit those stretch goals. That is me shilling, because I'm fine with fundraising. Thanks for watching.